Hey everybody, welcome to the pre-market analysis that we open up to the public usually every single Wednesday. Thanks for joining us this morning. And as we talked about yesterday on Twitter, we did push it a day just because we had technical difficulties yesterday. But yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. Typically happens on Wednesday. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown of what's going to happen this morning. Once I'm done speaking, I'm going to go ahead and pass over to Beth. She's going to come on and give you a breakdown of the macro environment, any news events that happened over the course of this evening or this morning that makes sense to be looking at, as well as bigger picture items, commodities, et cetera, as well. Once that's done, I'm going to be coming on, going through the individual names that are gapping up, gapping down that I'm looking at today. I'm going to be going through the news associated with those gap up, gap downs, go through the technicals as well, build an action plan for those companies, and as well go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, the Qs, and the IWM. Once that's done, Selfish will come on, go through the bigger picture names that he's looking at for today, macro environment, as well as analyst calls for the day, and then do a quick little dive through individual names that he's looking at as well. After that's done, I'll do a quick little recap of those individual names that we talked about this morning, as well as the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, Qs, and then we'll be ready to go. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead, pass it back over to Beth, and I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Beth, if you're ready, it's all yours.
I am indeed. So thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends. Welcome. Pre-market here at SpartanTrading.com. It's Thursday morning, but we have our live YouTube stream up as described and explained. Why? Lots to talk about. Today, it's going to be fun because we are going to be doing a deep dive on lithium. We have to, it's time, we got to do it, all right? Before we get to that, let's see what's happened overnight, any macroeconomic data that made sense for us to take a peek at this. Manufacturing PMI, well, you know, they can say whatever they want to say, right? But anyways, a little bit softer, non-manufacturing in China. General PMI, manufacturing PMI, you know, the Shenzhen things, it just, you know, I don't know what I understand why, but I don't understand. I mean, obviously, you know, size, right? The numbers with the COVID, right? Just inundating hospitals and this and that. I don't know. Anyways, let's move on. GDP growth. This was the final that came out of the UK as well. ECB head speaking, unemployment rate as expected. We did have the OPEC plus, nothing really came out of it that was noteworthy. The markets got a little bit of a yips because the president is talking about releasing one, well, anyways, we'll get into that a little bit too. PCE, this is important. We have to see what this looks like, right? Because this is what they look at, the Fed. Okay, it is backward looking, but this is the data they look at, and it's the trimmed. So once we get the data out there, it takes a couple of days for it to update. January is the last we have. So basically, this is February's. So we'll see what that looks like. You know, I don't think there's going to be any surprises in terms of it going up, but you never know, right? We do have a Fed head today, Williams, Chicago PMI, and then we have some grain stocks. This is actually important. So we'll see what that looks like. A lot of it has to do with hedges, and it can and will potentially impact wheat, corn, and soy, those ETFs, right? So what else? You know, that's it for today. Earnings. We did get Walgreens boots, and they were pretty good. So that's kind of nice to see. We'll see if that kind of trickles to the others in that area. You know, like I said, we're getting light here, right? We're waiting for the middle of April into the long weekend. That's when earnings season starts again with the financials. So we shall see. Not much coming on BlackBerry, I guess, right? This half Akimoto, it's not a lot. All right, so this is really fascinating. So this is the NASDAQ Golden China Dragon Index. Look at this, how it's tracking the NASDAQ. I find this fascinating, right? So, you know, we'll see how this plays out. Yeah, this goes back a ways too. So I thought that was pretty cool. You go girls, fantastic. These are basically young women who are getting paid as much as or more than men. And this is if you are a young woman, this is where you want to go, right? I think that's pretty cool anyways. We know, but the reality still is people, back in the 70s, there was carpooling and this and that. Does that happen? Mass transportation, hello? We'll see how that plays out. But, basically, we're taking from Peter to give to Paul. We talk about this. Well, what are they not going to spend money on in order that they can spend money on these things? Fascinating times we live in, friends. All right, so Tesla in Shanghai, plant suspension because, well, they have to, right? If you're going to be in China and then you get these lockdowns, you don't have much choice, right? Biden administration weighs a massive, okay, right, friends, 1 million. Consumption, 19.78 million. It's not even, I mean, seriously, 5%. Anyways, see, you gotta look, and this is what really ticks me off. Oh my God, oil prices slide as Biden considers, I mean, okay, whatever. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm just saying. Diplomats say EU's considering Russian bank sanctions. Well, stabilize economy plan. Once again, they have to do quantitative easing. Once again, this will be supportive of the Chinese market when it starts. It's like what happened here in the States, right? Quantitative easing, look at what our market did, right? So they have to do it. I don't know what they're waiting for. We'll see. Surge sinks hopes of speedy Shanghai. German Council of Economic slashes GDP forecast to be expected, right? It's just, I don't know. I can't tell you much about that. All right. So the pressure right now, U.S. with India, right? In terms of imports, oil imports, pressure with, OPEC and Russia. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know. All right, so Russia to pay $2 billion in bonds and dollars to foreign investors. Okay, see how it plays out. Ukrainian troops push forward. God bless them. We don't do enough, but God bless them. Okay. Russia set for steep slump and long stagnation. Yeah, how about depression? Oil falls, U.S. giant tech behind Nike and Anta sneakers. It's Thursday. No, let's talk about really yield curve inverting. I guess they're looking at the 210. I say it's the 310, but whatever. Potatoes, right? Baidu stock drops amid potential delisting. Once again, okay, put up or shut up. All right. Either you do it or you don't do it, number one. Number two, if these Chinese companies get with the times, okay, there's accounting regulatory aspects that why aren't you doing this? Just saying. So what's going to happen? We discussed it. They're going to basically list in the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index. K-Web is shifting everything over there as fast as they can. Right. Delaying RMDs, that's a good thing for the market, right? If that happens, let's see what happens with that, whether that gets passed or not. And here you can see Walgreens beats earnings, yay! But they didn't guide higher, which is kind of, all right, Morgan Stanley downgrades, HP Dell as uncertainty looms. We also have some other downgrades that came in, AMD. Let me tell you. So yesterday, fantastic reset. We talked about this, Spartan talked about this is what we wanted to see. Now the question is going to be is I don't actually see much going on, even though it is quarter end today, basically because we got non-farm payrolls tomorrow. And I think that people are going to be a little bit cautious with that. Year to date, let's take a look at our stats here, still below double digits. Nice. That's what we want to see. All right. So for those who are keeping score, this AKBA yesterday was getting a ton of flows, okay, and they were basically puts, sweeps coming in. And AMD, this is kind of disappointing here. I mean, this was Barclays, right? Downgrade and Dell. So, I want to tell you, upgrades, South Beach will go over when it gets the chance. APA, I saw this actually printing yesterday. That's kind of interesting. Cameco, I don't know why. There was put sweeps coming in on Cameco. Yeah, whatever. Okay, 5 below, yada, yada, yada. And then you see, anyways, let's moving on right along. So insiders, what happened yesterday? Oxy Petroleum president, 106 million buy. Obviously, that was some sort of, we'll see what it's actually the details on that, right? And here's an executive vice president. This is Owl Rock. So a lot going on yesterday, right? Some of these publics with these CEOs, obviously, because of the quarter end, a lot of them were probably getting their stock incentives, right? So, but $5.6 billion, that's a lot of money for the president of Oxy Petroleum, right? And you see here inside is JAGX, DOUG. So this is kind of fun. We want to see how it flows out to other stuff on the sell side, not a lot, but Joanne Fabrics, right? Box, and then you can see here, right? Flow. See, this is what it looks like when they're doing this stuff with the balance sheet, right? So we discussed this, and this is what we're seeing. We've been seeing this for days, right? This SPX going out. Some of this is shorter date. Some of this also could be rolls. I don't know. But we got May, June, April, May, June, just to have something on, right? And we're talking, quite a lot of money, over $25 million going through on it. More than that, actually, on a daily basis. But it's kind of fun to see that happening, right? Yesterday, let's see what the big premium paid was. Excuse me. And it's not going to update. Yeah, anyways, we'll move on. All right, so memes. So the meme star, GME, we continue to see stock as well as options. So that's nice to see. We haven't seen that in a while. NVIS, so this is the, these are the ones that kind of, as I stated, this is evolving, this list, this meme list. It was much longer. And, Tesla, Apple, I don't consider Tesla a meme anymore, to be honest with you. Apple saw a lot of volume, and it was retail, but you can see here, it's still woefully under the normal amount. NVIDIA, same thing. So we'll see how, what am I going to say? Right. So here's what we're looking at now. For those of you who are new, this is the new and opening Etsy. So this is kind of cool, right? SDGO. So this is what we want to look at. PayPal. I love PayPal. I've been accumulating it for a couple months now. And I'm starting to finally see that conviction paying off. PDD got some puts, notable, right? So we, the Chinese names is a little bit sloppy, but we'll have to see how that plays out. TD get a put sweep, right? And then, you can see Marriott, Grab, Wing, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so what's being hyped right now? Excuse me, ET, I love this ET, I'm in this ET, and MP. Those are the two I am both in as well. Look, I don't micromanage this stuff. If it pulls back, fine. I sell into the pops, and then I buy the drops. That's what I do. Okay, so the question is, these Wall Street analysts, okay, who are they, right? And how do you define success? Well, success to me is anything over 70%. Okay, so you can see here, there's quite a few of them actually, but let's take a look in terms of their ranking. Right, it's from the highest to the lowest. Right, so these are the top ranks, and these are the people who should be the top ranks because look at their success rate. Okay, so this guy from Needham, Quinn Bolton, Susquehanna. So this is what look. And we talk about these analysts and how, I won't say incompetent they are, but it's like they're so ineffective. How's that sound? So basically, even though these analysts do, but a lot of them are just so friggin', I don't say incompetent. It's just not the way it used to be. In South Beach, you'll talk about this, in So Will Twins. Anybody who's been involved in the markets for a long time, the IQ has really dropped, I should say. Okay, fear and greed model, let's see, we got a bullish reversal going on, okay, in terms of the S&P, fear and greed. What does it mean going back to 1998? It's actually bullish when this happens, right? If you go out 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months, like a year, et cetera. So that's kind of nice. And the crypto as well, it's well, we don't have a lot of data on that, but 2019, but hey, why not? So anyways, it's bullish. I'm actually thinking a double on crypto. And I know everybody's thinking I'm crazy, but that's what I'm thinking right now. All right, so we had a sea of red rows. Now look at this. Everything got reset very nicely. We wanted to see that, yada, yada, yada. Here we go. In terms of, this is the rankings. So money coming out of semis, energy, and going into tech barely, right? Home builders, well, you can see right here. Utilities, oil and gas, what you would see in a high inflation cycle, right? Don't forget, we also have to say that tech is in that as well. And it will continue to evolve as we get farther along in terms of on the inflation side, right? So on the other side, Ireland, yada, yada, on the tops, it is Portugal, Norway, Denmark. Okay, platinum, cotton, you know the drill. Okay, all right, here we go. You know, reset. I mean, there's nothing exciting here. You know, it's not crazy red. You know, we still have the XLY potential there. And here we see fund flows, IWM. And we saw that yesterday, the IWM was the sold out the most. It really didn't go very far, right? All right, let's talk. All right, so bonds quickly. Rates are coming down, yada, 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 across the board, right? Yields. So here's the 5-year coming back below the 78.6%, notable, right? We talk about that. Here's a 2.5. We can see that continues, so that continues to flatten, right? Here is the 5.10. Here's the 10. And now what I did was did I do it on this one as well? Yeah. Okay, so this is the inflation based, what the effective is if you include inflation. All right, so on the bottom here. So this is at 2.40, but if you basically factor in what the Fed says with inflation, it's 3.41. All right, I thought that would be pretty cool to add that on, right, as an overlay. In this here, it's 2.32, so it's like a half a percent, right? Here's the Chinese new one. Like I say, they have got to lower their rates. I don't know what they're waiting for, but you know the drill. They want to keep it strong for investments, yada, yada. Here's the gilts. It's going. I mean, this has a long way to go. And this is why we're seeing in Europe, it's sticky, a lot sticky, but when we did get a pullback in Germany, we'll see how that plays out. I don't see us breaking this quadrant anytime soon. All right, here we go. Dollar, who cares? But yeah, what? There you go. And then we'll talk about renminbi, yuan, whatever you want to say. And once again, this thing has to weaken. All right. And I think that would be crazy ass bullish for the Chinese market. Right. All right. So here we go. Here's Bitcoin. It did break out of the monthly. You can see that. But it's sticky here with this double top here. Notable. Now, this is the one that I've been shouting out. I like this one. This is the Bitcoin against the NASDAQ, right? Futures. So you can see here, right? I just think it's going up higher. This is where I think we're going to double. I just think it's going to 145%. And you know the drill on that. The Qs could sell off and Bitcoin could go up. Or there's all kinds of variables with that. Interestingly enough, yes, Ethereum it's kind of like lagging a little bit, and that's okay. I don't mind with that. Commodities, gold's down, yada, yada, yada. But it's actually holding up really well. Okay, that's notable. Okay, and I'm basically looking at it on the weekly. It's really holding that uptrend line well. So that's bullish. Okay, just keep that in your mind. We're still stuck in a massive range. I discussed that with you ad nauseum, I know, but you know the drill here. All right, this 114.83, that's my pivot. Massive candle. I think we sideways consolidate. I think the high's in for quite some time. And I don't think we take out this low. We'll see. Worst case scenario, maybe we can pull back to 85. I'm thinking in my head 90, maybe here also 93. I do have some SEO calls on. I bought it again, mainly because of the price action we saw yesterday. So I scalp around stuff, right? And you know that. I mean, I'm a little bit more active on the oil side. I'm not as active on the gold side, just so you know. Okay. All right, let's talk lithium. All right, I want to introduce you to this dude. His name is Matt Bolson. Okay, he is the best of the best when it comes to this sort of stuff, these minerals, these miners. Okay, Junior, you name it, he does it. Please, I encourage you. Look, he's Australian. I basically don't do the research, but I know who's the best of the best. This dude is the best of the best if you're going to do anything in these different types of miners when it comes to these different. And the guy is just brilliant, all right? And he gives you monthly reports, graphite, lithium, cobalt, top 5 North American miners to consider, lithium miners, yada, yada, yada. He tells you all about it, right? This is really fantastic. CRECF, this is one I'm looking at. I mean, some of these are junior miners, okay, but it's really fun, LITF. So what he's giving you is alternatives in terms of the standard bear, which would be like you know, Albemarle and, you know, LTHM, stuff like that, right? And I think that's notable. Okay, his LAC is on this list. So basically we're gonna, you know, this is how PLL, this is how you basically educate yourself, is by basically following someone who knows what they're talking about. This is the dude you want to follow on Seeking Alpha. This is all free stuff he gives you. I do subscribe to his portfolio, what he buys and sells. Okay, but you look, by disclosure, they have to tell you what they're in, right? If you go at the bottom, right? They're required to tell you what they're in. This is what the dude's in. Okay, beneficial long position. So you kind of know what his portfolio looks like, right? Okay. Here's the junior miners he's talking about. Okay. Now, what's really interesting is we have to be careful because that is not what it's. These ETFs basically aren't so much the miners, but they're like a Tesla, stuff like that. They're those who are involved in the battery business. Okay, so there's a huge difference between lithium miners versus the LIT, which is battery and technology. All right, so it's not the same. So here, for example, BHP obviously would be a miner, but Tesla doesn't do that, right? Glencore would be. BYD does actually do both. Okay, this SQM, I love this SQM. Keep an eye on that one. It doesn't have a lot of, and Rivian and Lucid do batteries as well, right? So when we're actually talking about, and it, just so you can see here, LIT versus BATT. So BATT is outperforming right now, LIT, just so you know. All right, so let's take a look. So this is actually the largest lithium mining company. This is a Chinese company, okay? And they're basically the largest. Right, in terms of the size, Albemarle, and you know, you could look at it in terms of actual. This is the market cap. They would be tied with the Genfeng. Okay, so these are the two top dogs when it comes to actual mining. Next in line would be this SQM. I love this SQM, but it's expensive, so that's why I look at when stuff like this happens. I look at these little junior miners for opportunity as well. The next one would be this PILBF, and Pilbara is also the largest. Okay, next would come this Alchem. So like I say, there's a difference between, these are the actual miners that I'm looking at right now. All right, and then next would become, believe it or not, LTHM, just because of the pricing in terms of, this is a $3.4 billion company, guys, gals. Okay, so this is serious stuff. I don't know on evaluation whether this makes sense, but this is what it is, okay? So this is, but it's a pure lithium play, right? Because of the spinoff, right? And the other one would be LAC, right? Here's Rio. You can see that. Here's BHP, right? And then we have LAC. So these are the top dogs when it comes to lithium miners, okay? And in terms of market cap, right? As well as production and stuff like that, right? So let's take a look at some of these against each other. There's two that I like. Now, one of them that I mentioned, and I've been mentioning, I did get mentioned overnight, and it's gapping up, which is fine, but this is a battery manufacturer. Okay, so it's totally different than actual lithium manufacturing. So that's why we have to basically distinguish between the two. All right, so here's another one that I really like. This is SLI, Standard Lithium. All right, it's starting to break out. It's a relatively inexpensive company. I'm in this. So there's a lot of different things. I probably will add to some of these little junior lithium miners as well. Okay, just because it's like these junior miners on any sort of commodity, you just never know. A lot of these will get bought out, yada, 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 right? So that's how it works. It's like little baby buyers. So here's the, so this is the LAC against SLI, all right? So the LAC has been outperforming SLI, but we're added a pivot point and it's got rebuffed. So, you know, for me, I probably will grab some of this SLI, right? Because you can see it's breaking a monthly downtrend line, right? Which is bullish. So we would expect some continuation with that, right? So that's kind of how I look at this stuff. Now here's Glencore. This is another one. It's Glen. So these are inexpensive. And I think these are going to get retail eyes, right? It's going to be the junior miners. It's not going to be the top dogs. Now, granted, LAC, LTHM does get retail, but I mean, I'm talking about, some really nice money coming in where you're talking like 30, 40, 50% sort of thing. So this is the Glencore. It's relatively inexpensive. And this is not a small miner, okay? Now, I'm looking at LAC against Fry. So this is really fascinating. So basically, and granted, this is a battery versus a lithium. And you have to understand this. I'm just going over this stuff just for the narrative, all right, bang for your buck. So obviously, LAC is pulling down, and you can see that's against Fry. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to be selling LAC, but I'm rotating money to Fry, right? You know me, I like best bang for the buck, right? And that's what it's telling us. This is starting to pull down. So money's going to be rotating over to some of these battery names as opposed to the lithium names. All right, here's PLL, you know the drill on this one, right? So like I say, these are expensive, at least for someone like myself, because I like to do a lot of different things, right? I got EVGO, I got the charging, I got Blink, I got Plug, I got ChargePoint, I got all that stuff. I got battery manufacturers, right? It's just basically, this is kind of like what you look at in terms of on the commodity side. You look at the physical, right, which would be the lithium miners. And then you look at basically the manufacturers as well as like battery, where it goes, right? So if all this stuff is going to be putting into these battery stuff, right? The lithium for EV, right? And the government's behind it, then it basically trickles down. That's basically what you're thinking about right now. All right, so here's Pascal. This is another one, keep an eye on. It's a little bit more expensive, but this actually is a very large company outside the US. Don't forget, a lot of these miners are basically Australian-based. They're down in Argentina, a lot in Canada. The US is starting to pick up, but we're behind. There's no question about it. So here's this Argosy. This is a US company. This is a little junior miner. Keep an eye on these. So a lot of these are really, they're penny stocks, okay? You put a couple $100 in, you see what happens. You can make some nice money on this stuff. So here's another one. This is Rock Technology. This is a little baby junior miner. Lithium South. This is LISMF. So a lot of these are under $1. Keep an eye on these, but these can actually get really bought up. Okay, if some eyes get on them. This is Frontier. So I wanted to show you from the top all the way down, and then my battery of choice, and that is Fry. Okay, so that's where that goes. Here's another one, Cypress. Now, what's really fascinating about some of these, and the reason why I say that is because some of these have news that comes out. Okay, so if you go to someone like Matt Bolson, okay, he'll basically tell you what the different news is and the different names as well. So, I mean, he'll tell you, okay, this Vulcan is kind of interesting because they do have some news, and it's one that I do have some interest in it, and I do have some eyes on it, and I may do this as an investment, this Vulcan, just so you know, because I like it's a nice little rounding bottom. It has a lot of potential here. And it is something that Matt Bolson is in, and it does have some news. And that's what basically you're looking at, companies that have news that they can grow, right? Okay, so that's something. This other one, this Sayona, is another one. This is actually a Canadian company. They had some news come out also. I believe they're strictly located in Quebec, but they had some news also come out. So for me, US, Canada, these little junior miners, I kind of want to do. It's an 18-cent. I don't put a lot of money into it. That much I have to tell you. Okay, but this is like a buy and hold sort of thing. I'm in it. I put it away in the corner. If something good happens, something good happens. But you never know. You buy, a couple thousand shares, and you never know. It could actually become something special, right? And this is how you do it in any sort of commodity, right? Especially where we are in this cycle. It's okay to put a certain percentage of your portfolio in this, and basically you don't even look at it. It's kind of like with cryptos. I don't know.
All right, Beth, I'm ready to pop on here.
All right, friends.
All right, thanks so much, guys. What's going on, morning? Let me just pop up the screen share here. If you guys are new to chat, make sure to click that Discord link that's emailed to you. And then when you guys do pop into chat, I'm just going to quickly show you what it looks like. It's going to look like this. For clarity, guys, to go to when you guys do come in, click on the disclaimer section, give that a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section and scroll to the very, very top. Top of that section, you'll see a link to the disclaimer as well as this bolded risk reward section. Give them both a read, then continue to scroll down and basically read from the top down. We'll go through that stuff in detail once I do close down that YouTube stream. Your market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? A couple different things. Tesla shot, Massey, Path, ISPO, LGVN. So Tesla said to be opening up charging networks to all EV owners in UK soon. Also, it's just gapping up in small sympathy with the market. Shot, gapping up in sympathy with the market as well. Massey stock slips on lower than expected sales expectations for Q1. So they lowered their guidance for Q1. Stock's gapping down. Path earnings beat EPS and revs. Q1 guidance lower, 2022 guidance lowered. Stocks gapping down on that lowering of guidance. ISPO gapping up in continuation momentum from last day's move, or close, I should say. And then LGVN highlighted publication of its phase 1 results of Lomesel B for Alzheimer's Medical Journal, Alzheimer's and Dementia. Stock gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, the first two that we're going to be looking at, guys, are Tesla and Shop. Nice thing about the market today, by the way, is not a huge gap anywhere. So I think the fact that we filled the gap yesterday and we're not really gapping up much today is a really great sign for, technical opportunity, I guess. Let's take a look at Shop and let's take a look at Tesla though. So Tesla held up extremely well the last couple of days. It's bullish consolidation that's occurring. Or is it going to be an outside day or an inside day? We'll see. If it's going to be an outside day, it's most likely going to be today, not Friday. But yeah, bullish consolidation on the daily. Gap pretty much filled. 1073 is that level. So it's got a little bit more room to fill it. But I think by the time the market opens up, that should tighten up quite a bit more around 1079, which should be pretty close to last day's low. Pivot to the upside today is going to be this level right here. 1095.77, that level is able to hold. You got room towards the 119.27 to the 1146.22. Unable to hold, you look for a pullback on Tesla towards 1078.95 to 1047.47 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold. So that is Tesla. Let's take a look at I'm sorry, guys. I got a cough here. Let's take a look at Shop. So Shop going to be leaning, or going to be taking a look at its daily here real quick. So what do we got? Bullish consolidation on the daily. Still looks pretty good for continuation higher. It's in grind mode to the upside. A lot of these tech bigger cap names all look similar on the dailies, where they're bullishly consolidating below their 50 MA. I don't think I need to start going after lower end ranges, but I think that should suffice. Let's just take a look at it, guys. Really do like the look of Shop for a continuation push higher back towards its 50 MA on the daily. Pivot to the upside today, 1714 levels able to hold. You got room back towards the, and I'm actually going to label two levels here at 738, at 758. Get rid of that level in between. So 714 holds, room towards 738 to 758 on the upside. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on Shop into the 689 to the 667.27 level on the downside. Overall on Shop, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot point is able to hold. So that is Shop. And that is Tesla. Let's take a screenshot of both of these. Let's move on to the next. Two, which will be Massey and Path. That's what it's Shop. All right. Okay, so Massey and Path next two. Let's take a look. Excuse me, guys. MASI and then PATH. So massive, a little bit of a gap down there. Obviously, whenever you cut your guidance for your upcoming earnings, it's bearish. Or actually your expectations, I should say. But they're ripping the Band-Aid off, so it could be seen as a not a super huge negative. So expectations will be in line, right? Almost like a buy the news event. Let's take a look at this thing intraday. It should be an interesting chart, actually. Get that resistance here as well. Okay. Pivot to the upside today, or downside, I should say. 140, 234 levels able to hold. They got room back towards 146. 150, 21. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 137.69 to 133.26 on the downside. Overall on Massey, going to be leaning bullish neutral. Actually looking for a reclaim of that pivot and a bounce. Again, I think it's more of like a rip the Band-Aid type of move. Rip the Band-Aid off type of move. I mean, expectations are now going to be in line going into earnings. So you may see a little bit of a bounce. So look at see a pull and a curl essentially would be great. Or if it just reclaims the pivot, a little bit of a push back to the upside there. All right, let's take a look at path here, guys. So we are getting a decent gap down on this. Sitting at about 23.40. These guys got well, lowered guidance for everything next year. Let's get that level there. Probably don't need the uptrend pivots, but we'll label them anyways. Okay. So 10-year all-time low. Gonna do a little bit of Fibonacci extensions to the downside. Oops, let's do let's see what we got here. That lower end level. Get a decent bounce off of that level already. 40, okay. Pivot to the downside today, 23.84. This level's unable to hold. We have room for continuation lower into the 22.44 level to 20.40. Able to hold 26.03 to 28.17 will be tested on the upside. Overall on path, going to be leaning bearish. Looking for a continuation pull lower if that pivot point's unable to hold. So that is Massey, and that is path. Okay, let's take a screenshot of these two and let's move on to the next. ISPO and LGVN. Usually, guys. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday, ISPO. Just getting some levels here. As you can see on the daily, it does have quite a bit of room to the upside if you start getting back above this 11 area. I mean, technically, we're talking like 1297, 1523 as the big next resistance levels on the daily. So 1116 holds, you got room towards 1297, and then 1523. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback on ISPO into the 963 to 852 on the downside. Overall on ISPO, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can hold. So we'll see what that level can hold if it can. Nice amount of continuation to the upside, and we'll have some nice room there. LGVM, let's take a look at this. All right, so let's take a look at that daily here. I'm gonna do this as well. All right, LGVN. Again, another name with quite a bit of room to the upside. Anything Alzheimer's related as well, usually get some nice legs behind it. So something to note. So we're about that 973 a share. I think all my levels are pretty much labeled on the chart. Yep. All right, let's take a look at this thing intraday. One thing I won't be able to see is the above resistance levels, which I will read out to you anyways. So I have to flip to a daily chart. Okay, so 888 pivot to the upside today. Level holds. You got room towards 992. That level breaks. We got room for continuation towards 1120. Unable to hold the pivot point. We look for a pullback on LGVN towards 773 to 680 on the downside. Overall on LGVN, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot point can hold. So it does have room for continuation, just a matter of holding the pivot point for that continuation to occur. I'm liking these smaller cap names again. I think there's quite a bit of them setting up off the lows, and they are getting some decent volume. Most of them do need catalysts behind them, though, it looks like, for the time being at least. So that's ISPO, that is LGVM. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. Okay. So SPY and the FANG, guys, let's have a gander at that. $458.33 levels able to hold. We got room towards 460.05 to 462.19. Unable to hold 456.15 to the 453.80 level will be tested on the downside. Overall in the market, we did fill the gap on the daily. I'm going to be leaning bullish. Let's just take a look at the daily chart here. Just want to link it. There you go. You can see that gap fill on the daily. So overall, yeah, did fill on the daily. Going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can hold for continuation higher. Sorry. Like I said, I mean, the gap filled. I think it looks great from a technical standpoint for continuation. And that's essentially what I'm going to be looking for. So that's SPY. Let's take a look at the FANG here. Let's take a look at the FANG. So Apple first. Apple got filled on the daily. It wasn't filled completely yesterday, but now that today opened up, we are. I know it was super close. So that's great. got that bullish reset that we wanted, looking for. 176.86 pivot, level holds, moving towards 179.64 to 182.08. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 176.86 to 173.94. We're going to be leaning bullish neutral on that, looking for a continuation push higher. So I want to see a reclaim of the pivot and a continued move to the upside today. Let's take a look at Amazon. Oops, screenshot this, sorry. First things first. Amazon pivot 33.42 level holds. We got rid of towards 33.71 to the 33.97. Unable to hold 33.10 to 32.70 on the downside will be tested. Overall on Amazon, leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Let's take a look at Facebook. So it's not Facebook, sorry, Netflix. Netflix, guys, pivot to the upside today. It's going to be this level right here. 386.90 levels able to hold. Moving back towards 394.90 to 406.46. Unable to hold 376.66 to 365.77 on the downside will be tested. Overall, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot point's able to hold. So want to see a push back towards that 50 MA on the daily. Gap filled. We had some great relative strength on the name yesterday until the end of the day where it actually did get a little bit of a pullback on Netflix. But yeah, going to be leaning bullish still on that. Facebook, same thing, except it was much more strong. The relative strength is much more apparent in this name. Again, going to be leaning bullish neutral. Pivot to the upside today will be last day's low area. The 226 levels able to hold. We got rid towards 331 and 334.81, which is the 50 MA on the daily. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback. 221. We look for a pullback towards the, let's get this recent range high, 224 level, then that 221.43 on the downside. Overall on Facebook, going to be leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point can hold. So it does look good in that regard. That is Facebook. Last but not least, guys, let's take a look at Google. Sorry, 28.64 pivot, levels able to hold. Move towards 28.94 to 29.23. Unable to hold, we look for pullback towards 28.14 to the 27.60 level on the downside. Overall on Google, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. Oops. If that pivot point can hold. So again, flagging with the SPY, looks exact same type of chart as the market there. All right, let's take a look at the Qs, the VIX, and the IWM real quick. So VIX first and foremost, what's going on there? So VIX is no longer extended to the downside. They did fill that gap yesterday. One thing we got to watch is if it can reclaim the short-term EMA support or not. 221 pivot to the upside today, levels able to hold 21.17 will be tested. Unable to hold 19.25 to 18.60. Not leaning any particular direction on the name, but we'll see what happens in that regard. That is the VIX. Let's take a look at the QQQs. $374. All right, 369.35 pivot levels able to hold 371.77 to 374.33 will be tested. Unable to hold 365.51 to 362.65 on the downside. Overall on the QQQ, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. And then last but not least, guys, IWM, let's take a look at that. So IWM, what do we got? We got this pivot at 207.01, levels able to hold, room towards 209 to the 210s, and then back towards 212.25 level. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback to towards 204.80, 203.08 on the downside. Overall on IW, I'm going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point's able to hold. So we'll see what happens there. So that is the IWM. So that's the SPY, that's the FANG, those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead and pass over to Selfie while I type up that pre-market action plan. And then I'll come back on, guys. We'll do a quick little recap of what we talked about today, and then we'll be ready to go. So further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Selfie, and I will talk to you shortly. Selfie, if you're ready, it's all yours.
Okay, good morning, guys. Okay, let's see what we got. There's a bunch of stuff this morning. Let's start with the bonds, okay, like we always do. Okay, it's 10 years at 234, down 0.08. The high was around 250-ish, right? So we've come off a little bit. Curve, 210s. I'm not looking at 510s anymore. That's inverted pretty good. Let's look at the 210s now, see how that's going. And that is at 0.02. Okay, so basically same thing, right? Flat. And rates are down across the board in Europe. 10-year there in London is 163, down from a high of about 170 or so, 168 maybe. So staying elevated, but coming off a little bit. Germany's down, you know, same kind of thing. So very elevated, coming off the highs. The highs were set for the most part on, what's today, Tuesday? And so they're coming off, big deal, right? And the big thing with our curve is the flatness, right? That's telling you basically that the traders say, you know, we're going to slow down, okay, out years. And the bond market's going to be flat, and we have inflation. You know, it's basically a stagflation kind of curve at the moment. But we'll see. That could change. All right. So that's what we have in the bond market. Let's look at the commodities. So we have oil down $6. I'm gonna circle back to that. Okay. So I'm just gonna leave it for a moment. It's down 5%. Let's move on. Natural gas is down 1%. Gold is moving further away from the 2000 line in the sand, and it's below that. Copper's down a little. As far as agricultural commodities, wheat's up 1%. Corn's basically flat, but very elevated there. Coffee's come off somewhat, but if you look like it, stuff like cotton, it's way the hell up there. Okay, so for the most part, agricultural commodities staying very strong. This morning, Ukraine is saying that Russia's targeting their agricultural area, which doesn't bode well for the price of food globally, and that's an issue. But nothing surprises me over there. Currency-wise, dollars up against North America, down against the yen, flat against China, and basically flat against the euro. Okay, crypto up 0.5% in Bitcoin, 0.5% in 1% in Ethereum, and Solana's up 5%. Solana's been cooking lately. It had a period of underperformance. Now it's outperforming. And let's look at the foreign markets. They were basically flat earlier today. Now they have the FTSE down 20 points, which is 0.2%. DAX is down about the same percentage, 48 points. And over in Asia, we have Nikkei down 0.75%. China's down 0.5%, and Hong Kong's down 1%. So that's the backdrop. Okay, our futures are basically flat. They rose to up last night. They were, when I turned off my machine or I came in to look, they were up 15 on the S&Ps. So it came off, basically gave back the gains, and here we are. All right. So we have today's the 31st, tomorrow's the 1st. So you have a lot of ESOP buying, employee stock option plans. That usually are the strongest days of the month, the last and the first. Well, actually the last two and the first two, but you know, I think the last and the first are the two strongest. So we'll see how that plays out. But the corporations will be in there buying stock for their employees for sure. Okay, so that's important to recognize. China. So the bank's Fed, we know what's going to happen, right? They're going to raise rates. Is it going to be a half? Is it going to be a quarter? Sounds like they're leaning towards a half, but we'll see. All right, so that's that. China, Gensler, who's the SEC chairman, came out with a comment last night basically saying that, you know, as far as the delisting process is not where the market had thought. We had thought that, you know, they were doing everything to comply, and it appears as though he's saying, you know, not so fast. So we'll see. Okay, who knows? I think it depends on a lot of things. I think it's too early to tell. And I think the Chinese stocks have definitely changed their look ever since that comment by Xi. But that Gensler comment put a couple of drops of cold water on that comment on the Chinese stocks, and they're down a little bit on that. Russia, what do you say? What can you say? Crypto, we discussed. The oil market. Okay, so the oil market's down $5 this morning based on Biden. He wants to do a 6-month plan of 1 million barrels a day. Is it coincidence that the midterm elections are 6 months from now? Maybe. Certainly something that you would think, possibility, right? And I mean, I just don't, I think Biden administration has done really good on a lot of things with this Russia situation, the coalition he built. He's letting out, information about what's going on in Russia before the Russians even do anything, which is, you know, our intelligence. And I think that's been really smart. But his energy policy, I think, is deplorable. I mean, he's going to, you know the adage, you give a man a fish, you know, he eats for a day. You teach a man to fish, he can, you know, survive forever. There's nothing different about letting 1 million barrels of oil coming out of strategic oil reserves. You need to invest in our infrastructure, and they refuse to do it. Carl Bass was just on TV. The guy is brilliant. He's saying it's going to take 30 to 40 years to transition from where we are, hydrocarbons, to fully green energy. We need to invest in our infrastructure. We have 100 years worth of natural gas, and we're doing nothing about it except promising some of the Europeans that will send it to them. I mean, give me a break. I don't understand. I just don't understand. I don't get it. And every day that goes by is another day that you're not facing the truth, okay? And you got to face the truth, all right? And it's shameful. It's really shameful. And is it 6 months, you know, with the midterms? I don't know. That's for you to decide, not for me. I don't know. Okay, so that's what's going on with that. You had, what's his name on TV last night, the best oil trader there is, Mark Fisher. He's saying there's no question that prices are going higher. Okay, no question. And he likes natural gas the best. He likes the out months. He doesn't like the volatility of the short term, like what happened today. He said if something happens, they can knock oil down $10 in the near term, and you're in a bad way. He says I go January natural gas, and he says I'll have no problem. The prices are definitely going to go up, and he's as smart as they get. Okay, so he thinks easy $8 to $10 in natural gas from 6 today, and he's making a big bet. All right, and the handwriting is on the wall, and he thinks that oil trades at least at $100 and $120 for the rest of the year, and that's it. That's an opinion of a guy who's got a better opinion than most. Okay, let's put it that way. I could say better opinion than everyone, but I think that would be a stretch. Better opinion than most. Okay, so he's been liking this RRC forever, and the stock's been the monster, and that's what he's saying. That's what Kyle Bass is saying. That's what everybody's saying about the energy situation. Okay, it's a bad situation, and we have to address it. And taking $1 million of oil, 1 million barrels of oil out of the strategic reserve to give the baby a pacifier is not going to change anything. Okay, so let's move on. So the price of oil is going to, this is probably temporary, and it goes back up, is my opinion. Okay, so let's look at numbers. We have Flex came out with good numbers, as did IZEA. Okay, so that is on the positive side. Clevis, a company that's disappointed since God was a little boy, has some positive news this morning for treatment of ovarian cancer. The stock's up 40% on that. Okay, Dare entered into agreement with Organon to license their drug. That's a positive. A bunch of Chinese stocks announced buybacks. I don't know if it's coincidence that they all announced them the same day, but KC did 100 million. WB did 500 million, and VIPS did a billion. So 3 Chinese names all announcing buybacks. Okay, so that's important there. CORT had positive phase 2 study. MYNX announced that they're submitting a drug to the FDA. Excuse me. What else do we have here? LGVN phase 1 positive on Alzheimer and dementia. Those 2 things. I mean, those are the buzzwords, guys. If you have something for that, it's just they just take your stock. No looking back. Datadog is doing a collaboration with Microsoft Cloud. So that's that. Amazon is extending their credit card relationship with JP Morgan. That's that. So that's on the positive. Okay, let's see negative stuff. What do we have there? We have Path, the perennial garbage. That's down 15% on numbers. EXFY was a miss. MASI, another miss there. Stock's down a bunch, 10%. PHR was a miss. Tempur-Pedic, they missed as well. They're down $1 and change. WBA was a small miss. Stock's down a deuce. And this Breeze, the number wasn't great, but it looks like the stock is up. So whatever. That's usually a very bullish sign. Okay. What else do we have here? Okay, negative news. AMLX had negative FDA news. Fergie is being removed from the S&P Small Cap 600. What else do we have? 2 offerings, MDV and Bolt. And there's a HESM is down on a syndicate deal. They priced 8.9 million at 89.56. It closed at 30.97. I think that's what it says. I can't read my own handwriting, which is kind of par for the course. What else? Is that it? Apple is trying to secure chips from a Chinese company, which is a little bit different than we've been seeing. We see companies trying to move away from China, and we see Apple trying to secure chips from a Chinese fab, which is what it is, okay? I'm surprised at that, but that's what it is. So let's see, is Apple up on that? No, unchanged. Okay, so let's move into syndicate. I had the one deal that I told you. Insider buying. We had insider buying in IVZ, Invesco. Trian bought 3.5 million shares for, I think, 81 million. ASPN, Coke Industries, bought 1.7 million shares for 49 million. GDL, Gabelli bought some of that, $12 million worth. And the CEO of Oxy bought 14,000 shares, $800,000 worth. So that's the insider. Kathy bought some Twist. She bought some Coin. She bought BNR. And nothing really on the sell side. Okay, so that was that. Let's see what else we got here. Let's look at some research, see if anything here. There was a couple of themes that I want to point out that I thought were interesting. One is in housing and one is in the PC business. Okay, so these guys are turning, you know, they're cooling off on housing. I've been negative on housing ever since, if you recall, Ivy Zellman went negative, and I said to you guys, if this girl is negative, I'm negative. Do you recall that by any chance? Ever since she said that, these stocks have been in the tank. She's the king. And when I talk about analysts being crappy, and like the most of them are in the really crappy position, there's a few of them shining lights. She's one of them. Okay, she knows this group cold, and she's never wrong. I mean, that I could ever remember. So once in a while, you see someone who's just outstanding at what they do, and Ivy Zellman is one of those people. It's just remarkable how often she's right. I mean, it's like clockwork. So anyway, she got negative, and now all these analysts are starting to throw in the towel. Gary Friedman, who runs RH, had all this negative comments about the housing business when he, you know, announced earnings the other day. So I guess what he said, and so on, and interest rates going up, and disposable income going down, and so on and so forth. I mean, you got to think about it this way, and I know you know this in your town. If a developer built an apartment or a house or whatever, and they probably built it right with the idea of getting X for it, okay, whatever X was. Well, when time to sell came, they probably got an X plus 20% at least. I mean, in Miami, they got at least that, maybe more. And that ship has sailed with higher interest rates, in my opinion, or it is in the process of sailing. And ergo, these stocks act like garbage. So we had a bunch of guys lower numbers, starting with, who is this, Barclays. They lowered targets. They kept some outperforms, right? But the charts are crappy, so I wouldn't buy them. But you know, you guys do what you want. DHI, reiterate, outperform. Target goes from 125 to 104. KBH, they reiterate, outperform. They reduce the target a little bit there. Toll Brothers, they have an outright sell on. They take the target from 61 to 47. Pulte was in here somewhere, but I don't. Oh, here it is. Pulte goes from outperform to equal weight. They take the target down to 49, stock's 43. It was at 72. So by and large, you know, just, you know, reduce expectations, raise, you know, lower numbers, the typical, what you see when these guys are wrong. All right. They kept some outperforms or what have you. I don't think Home Depot and Lowe's are that different, meatballs, in the sense that I think the consumer really spent a lot of money on their home during COVID because they spend so much time there. And now they want to spend money on other things, coupled with the fact that they have less disposable income because of higher interest rates and inflation with food costs and so on. So I think the Home Depots in the world are not in the best spot at the moment. Will that change? I think Home Depot's a champ, and I think Lowe's is a champ. It's just a question of getting it right. Okay, so I mean, these stocks aren't going anywhere. They are really fantastic, but I think they're, it's obvious why they're coming in, and I think they'll come in until they don't. We have to watch the charts. They will tell us when it's the right time. Okay. What else do we have on the short side? Oh, the other short theme, which I thought was interesting, was this PC correction coming. That came out of both Barclays and Morgan Stanley on the same day, which is kind of unusual. So PC market correction coming, both said the same. Dell reiterate the equal weight at 54 goes to 53 target at Barclays, and Hewlett HPQ reiterate the sell target 30 to 29, stocks 38. Okay. And funny enough, Morgan Stanley did basically the same thing. They downgraded Dell, though. The other guy didn't. They take the target from 66 to 60. HPQ go to the sell, target 34 to 31. So I thought that was probably a good call. All right. That was two themes. I love when they get thematic on me because I can wrap my head around it. And that was one thing. Boeing, Jeffries is saying this morning that airline number that came through yesterday, they were actually expecting 120. It came in 103. So what I thought was a real positive announcement, actually, they think it was slightly below what they were looking for, number one. And number two, China still has flown the 737 MAX. Okay, so we'll see when those two things happen. I guess that's the next thing we're looking for. When are they actually going to fly these planes? Okay, so those are two things that I thought were interesting. On the long side, Mizuho raised targets in oil stocks in a big way. Okay, Apache neutral to buy, target 56. I'm giving you a taste of it. COP, they raised the target to 150, stocks 101. Devon to 89, stocks 60. EOG to 172, stocks 121. Hess goes up to 139 versus 138. Oxy 80 target, the stocks 57. PXD 346, stocks 257. Me personally, I would go with the Oxy because Buffett's in it, and I don't know. You may try to buy the whole company, so you have the same fundamental play with a possible catalyst. So I kind of like that one the best for that reason. A bunch of guys like this 5, target 205 at Citibank and 284 at Deutsche Bank. Guys are reiterating they like RH, they like Breeze, et cetera, et cetera. That's really it. I think the market's going to be choppy today, actually, like it was yesterday. So I'm going to take it slow. I'm not going to short oil stocks based on this. I'm probably looking for a place to buy them. Airlines have been acting pretty well. I kind of like them. And I don't know what to do with high PE tech. I watch the bond market. If bonds are stabilizing, high PE tech is probably not a bad place to be. So we'll see what happens with that. And I'm out of time. So Spartan, it's all yours, my man.
All right, guys, morning. What's going on? Let's take a look at what we got going on today. A couple of different things. If you guys are new to chat and already done so, make sure to click the Discord link that's emailed to you. You guys coming to chat, it's going to look like this. There it is. It's going to look like this. First area to go to, guys, when you do come in, click on that disclaimer section, give it a read, as well as go to the new to chat information section. Scroll to the top, read from the top down. We'll go through this once we close down the YouTube stream in just a few minutes here. Pre-market tickers on watch. What do we got going on today, guys? Everything's posted. A couple of different things. Tesla, Shop, Massey, Path, ISPO, and LGVN is what we're going to be looking at today. So what do we got going on in that regard? Tesla basically was gapping up and simply the market. A little bit of news out there saying that they're going to be opening up supercharging networks all over the EV all over the UK soon. I don't think it's really moving on that though, but there was news, so I'm going to post it. Shop gapping up simply the market was Massey. Stock slips lower on them, lowering their expectations for their Q1 sales. Path, earnings beat EPS and revs, Q1 guidance lower, 2022 guidance lowered, stocks gapping down on that. ISPO gapping up in continuation from last day's momentum. And then LGVN highlights publication of phase 1 results of its Lomecel B for Alzheimer's and medical journal. In the medical journal, Alzheimer's and dementia. Stocks gapping up on that. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. So first two names that we're looking at today, guys. First two names that we're looking at today, Tesla and Shop. So Tesla, guys, 1095.77 pivot level holds 1119 to 1146 will be tested. Unable to hold 1078 to 1047 will be tested on the downside. Overall leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today. See what happens there. Let's take a look at Shop. Pivot to the upside today. 714.47 level holds towards 738.30 towards 758.50. Unable to hold 689.73 to 667.27 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Shop, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today if that pivot point can be reclaimed as well. Let's take a look at Massey. Let's take a look at Path. Massey pivot to the upside today. 142.34 levels able to be reclaimed towards 146.03 to 150.21. Unable to hold 137.69 to 133.26 will be tested on the downside. Overall, Massey going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today if that pivot point can be reclaimed. Path. 2384 pivot level holds towards 2603 to 2817. Unable to hold 2244 to 2040 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Path, going to be leaning on the excuse me, guys. Bearish neutral side today, looking for a continuation lower on that. ISPO and LGVN. ISPO pivot to the upside today is going to be the 1116 levels able to hold 1297 to 1523 will be tested. Unable to hold 963 to 852. Going to be leaning bullish neutral on ISPO if that pivot point can be reclaimed. So if pivot point can be reclaimed, it can push higher. Unable to do so, it probably will be leaning more on the bearish side. Same thing with LGVN. 888 pivot level holds 992 to 1120 will be tested. Unable to hold 773 to 680 on the downside. And again, leaning bullish neutral if that pivot point is able to be reclaimed. Let's take a look at the SPY and FANG. SPY 458. I'm going to type this up as I usually do. 458, 33 pivot to the upside today. Sell holds from higher into the 460.05 resistance breaks. You see the 462, 19 level tested. Pivot unable to hold from lower into the 450, 615 support breaks. We see the 453.80 level tested. I am going to be leaning bullish neutral on the market. I want to see a hold of the support on the daily and a continuation push higher. We'll see if that's able to occur. I do think the market does look good on that daily chart. So we'll see what happens there. Excuse me, guys. All right, let's take a look at the FANG. Apple pivot to the downside today, or upside today, sure, I should say. 179.64 level holds 182.08, unable to hold 176.86 to 173.94. We tested on the downside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. We'll see what happens in that regard. Amazon pivot upside today is the 33.42 level holds 33.71 to 33.97 will be tested. Unable to hold 33.10 to 32.70 on the downside will be tested. Overall on Amazon, leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. So going to be watching that. Let's take a look at Netflix. Pivot to the upside today. It's going to be 386.69 levels able to hold 394.90 to the 406 level. Unable to hold 376 to 365 will be tested on the downside. Overall leaning bullish neutral on that. Let's take a look at Facebook. Same thing, leaning bullish neutral. Pivot to the upside today. is going to be the 226.77 level holds 231, the 234.86, unable to hold 224.16 to 221.43 will be tested on the downside. Any bullish neutral there, and then Google. Pivot to the upside today. 28.63 level holds 28.94 to the 29.23 will be tested. Unable to hold 28.14 to 27.60 will be tested on the downside. Going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side there. All right, let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, and IWM. VIX 2021 pivot levels able to hold, room towards the 21.17 level, unable to hold 19.25 to 18.60 will be tested on the downside. Not leaning any particular direction, but using the VIX for direction on the market. QQQ's 369.35 pivot will be tested on the upside today. Level holds room towards 371.77 to 374.33 will be tested. Unable to hold, room towards 365.51 to 362.65 on the downside on the Qs. And then leaning bullish neutral there. And then last but not least, guys, IWM. IWM pivot to the downside today. 207.01 level holds 208.99 to 210.83. Unable to hold 204.80 to 203.08. And I am leaning bullish neutral on that name as well today. So that is the IWM. So that's a SPY. That's the thing. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. Thanks for joining us this morning. We do streaming every single Wednesday pre-market. You know, today is Thursday. We just had technical difficulties yesterday, so we had to push it a little bit. On a quick note, and you'll see this, I'll tweet it out, and you'll also see it in the YouTube description, but we did change part of our Discord, guys, to have a free component. So we're going to be building the community up a little bit in that regard. And you can stay tuned for that link. And then I'll explain a little bit more, probably in a YouTube video separate from this today that you can look for as well. All right, guys, thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions, go to spartantrading.com and have a good rest.